I should not be listening to this song, man. Hi everyone, I'm going to react to My Hero Academia Season 6, Episode 19, Full Power. You know, before I react to anything, I listen to like songs, and whatnot. And usually these last few reactions I've just been listening to um intros, openings, anime openings and stuff. I love the Attack on Titan final episode, like the opening for that, but it just makes me feel a certain way, makes me feel sad. And after listening to it, I just finished listening to it, and I'm like, I should not be listening to this before doing a reaction because it brings my mood down. As much as I love the song, it just feels heavy to me. So I'm like, yeah, I should not do this anymore. Maybe after I'm done with my reactions and whatnot, I can listen to it, but not before. So last episode of My Hero Academia, we had this whole talk with all the previous holders and I must say Yuji, Deku, they had all this whole talk, and during my review of that episode, I'm like, I didn't quite fully understand everything. And like I said, I said I would go back and look through it again, and I did. And I'm going to talk about that at the end of this reaction after I see this episode. And then Deku left the academia. He left, and he wrote letters to his friends telling him basically why he's leaving, the reason why Shigaraki and all for one after him and all of that. So yeah, he left. Endeavor and Hawks also and Bastionist, they also gave a press conference basically to the whole public, telling them their what they did, and just basically telling the whole truth and nothing but the truth. And they said that they were gonna use those schools and the spaces that they have in Wanatu as shelters for the people there and whatnot. I think that's basically what happened. Unless I'm missing something, but that's what I remember. So that's what happened last episode. And before we get into this one, if you guys have a reaction, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and please go to support on Patreon at patreon.com/filmini. And now let's start this episode. And here we go. Rumbling, rumbling, it's coming, rumbling, rumbling. I guess the reason why it feels heavy to me is because I see it from Aaron's point of view, and I can feel the pain in him through that intro, So it's like, and then knowing how the things are gonna end, it makes me feel sad. So yeah, that's it. Let's go. Yeah, like I said, I wanted to go back to the when he was gonna face Muscular, and then he's going through like all the holders of the fourth, and then talking about their quirk and how he's gonna use them and all of that. During the last episode, there was a scene while they were talking, like with all the holders there and everything. There was a scene where the scroll through all the holders from the right to the left, and then it started with the first. So I'm like, okay, the way they were scrolling through all of them, is that how how the succession went, So as they were scrolling through, I wrote all those things down, and when he was going through the holders here and the quirk and all that, I wanted to check with what I wrote down to see if that matched. Like when he said go the fourth, the danger sense, and then he said 7 float. 7 is Nana, so Nana's quirk is float and all that. So I was trying to match what he was saying, like the fourth and the fifth and the seventh and the sixth. He said the sixth, and it says small screen, and as I wrote things down, the 6 in my note was N, and N is the one that was talking to him when he was using a small screen. So I'm like, okay, I feel like I got it, like the way the suspension went. I think I got it down now. So yeah, I just wanted to make sure. And yeah, I got it. So before we talk about this episode, last episode, okay, there were, like I said last episode that I wasn't fully understanding what they were talking about, what the previous holders, like what, I didn't get that scene. So as I was editing my reaction to that particular episode, I was taking my time, reading through what they were saying again and thinking about it and all of that. And from what I understand, okay, there was those notes that Bakugo that was talking about all the previous holders, and in that note they said that the 4th, they didn't write the cause of death for the 4th, and then the 4th said during last episode that basically when he got his one for all, he was off training by himself because he felt like he wasn't strong enough to face all for one, so he wanted to build up strength and everything. And then they said that he died of old age, but that old age in his case came at the 40 years old. And then there were these marks that were on his face and all of that appeared on his face and whatnot. And then they said that basically they said that if you are a vessel that has multiple quirks and then you get one for all, you are more inclined to die of old age than you are, living a real long life, basically. Like your vessel, if you have multiple quirks and then you add one for all to it, your person is not going to be able to hold all that power. And then things are going to mess up for you and you might die earlier like he did, And as he was saying that, they showed the first, and then they showed those two that turned their face away, that were looking at Deku during that particular scene. So I'm like, okay, what does this mean? And then they included the 4th in that scene as well. And he was talking about how if you have multiple quirks, then you're not going to be able to contain, or you can die of old age. I don't know, one of those two things. So I'm like, is that the case for those 3 as well? Like they died prematurely because they had multiple quirks? Is that what they meant by the other 3? Like the first and based on what the first two, the two that turned their backs on them, the one that had orange hair and the other one had blue hair. I don't know their names, obviously. So after the first, it was the orange hair dude that got the power, and then it was the blue hair dude, and then the 4th. Or was he talking about up to his point? Because if those 3 were the ones that came before him, and then you had the multiple quirks thing, I don't know. But either way, that's what caused him to die prematurely. But the thing is, All Might was quirkless. Deku is quirkless. So if you're someone that doesn't have any quirk, and then you get all for one, no, one for all, you are in a position to be able to develop that power and make it your own, And that's why they said that All Might, apart from All Might, I think they said All Might had it the longest, had one for all the longest, and after that, was it Shinamori? Or was it the one that Black Whip? I think it was Shinamori that had it the second longest. Okay, I was going through my notes from last episode, and they said that the old age was basically when you had multiple quirks in your body, and then that will have multiple quirks, and then all one for all, and it was basically shortening your lifespan. And that's when they were showing the other, the first, the second, and the third. So clearly they also died pretty early, so I guess it shortened their lifespan as well. Maybe that's why that's why they showed those three as well during that particular episode. Where yeah, so it was the fourth that had it the second longest after All Might. And they also talked about how so All Might and Deku basically are quirkless. That's why they are able to basically fully manifest the power of One for All. And they told Deku that he might be the last person to, basically the last holder, because for someone to be born quirkless is really rare. And if that doesn't happen, then he's gonna be the one that has the most that could possibly defeat All for One, and they, while in the process, I guess, of discovering why how the thing works, how the One for All or whatever works. And they talked about the fact that how the quirks have the consciousness thing, that your consciousness is like etched into the quirk factor. That's why they were able to communicate with each other in this particular world. And then they were asking themselves, so why is All Might also part of this consciousness dream state that they were talking about? The others had quirks, and their consciousness were etched into that quirk. It wasn't really One for All that it was etched into. And One for All basically stockpiled all those previous quirks, and those quirks had their consciousness, whatever, in it. But with All Might, the reason why he was there, because since he was quirkless, and then he was able to fully manifest One for All inside of him. One for All became his quirk. And that's why his consciousness was etched into One for All, the quirk One for All itself. And that's why he's able to share this dream space that they were in and whatnot. So they talked about that as well. And then they asked Deku if he was going to be able to kill. I think I talked about that particular part of the episode. But yeah, I was just, And then they also talked about how the only way for One for All to surrender to All for One is to have a feeling. Is for All for One to have a feeling that's stronger than One for All, to make One for All surrender to All for One. And that is why he has been using Shigaraki's hatred. This strong feeling can't be held on by one person. It needs to be maybe held by multiple people. And now you have All for One that has his own strong feeling, and then you add Shigaraki's own hatred feeling onto it. Then he feels like he can use Shigaraki's feelings, add his own to it, and then make one One for All surrender to him or something along those lines. Because they said the origin of One for All is the will that was... How exactly did they say it again? I wrote all those things down because I really wanted to understand what the heck they were talking about. Like, the origin of One for All is a strong will that refuses to yield to All for One. So in order for One for All to yield to All for One, you need a feeling that is stronger than One for All. And yeah. It's all about feelings, okay? So that's what I'm saying. If Deku is able to help Shigaraki get rid of that hatred, that strong feeling of hatred that he has in him, All for One is not going to have that strong feeling anymore. And he's not going to be able to make One for All surrender to him. So, yeah. I think I talked about that long enough. Now, for this particular episode, you had these two students that were trying to get these people to go to their school. The school is now sort of like a shelter for people, but these guys like, we're not going. And then Muscular showed up, and he was facing Yo, right? Who his quirk was like vibrate and stuff. So he was there, and he was about to. Well, he was beating Yo, right? And Yo is like, okay, I'm gonna use all my. Excuse me. I'm gonna use vibrate to the full extent of my power, and he used it on him. But then Muscular is like, I just need to build up even more muscle to stop that from reaching me or something or other along those lines. And then he was about to do something to you, and that's when Deku showed up. And he was so happy to see Deku, because after that fight, he's just been craving another go at it with Deku, And Deku came in using small screen. He brought Yo to her friend, still using small screen to basically mask himself so people don't know exactly who is doing these things, But Yo recognized him, after he was rescued and given to the friend. Yo recognized him. He passed out, so he didn't say anything. And then the girl also, his voice sounded familiar to her, And I'm like, when I saw those two, I'm like, especially Yo, I'm like, I know this dude from someplace. And it was during the provisional exam. That's where we first saw them, I believe. And that's where Yo recognized Deku from, So Deku saved Yo, and then he went back to Muscular, and he used basically, he first used small screen to sort of like guide Muscular to a place where he's not going to be able to, break a lot of things. And then he used Black Whip to bind him, and then he started asking him these questions, basically trying to find his motivations, like, why are you doing the things that you do and whatnot. And then I'm reminded of last episode when he was talking about how if he had known basically what pushed all those villains to do what they did, then maybe all those people that have been hurt or that have died wouldn't have died or been hurt and all of that. So when he was asking him these questions, I'm like, so that's what you're trying to do now? Trying to figure out what makes them tick? But then this guy just loves fighting, man, and blood and stuff. He wants the thrill of the fight and the blood. So Deku was like, okay, whatever their motivations, I have to fight. And then he used one for all full cowling, and he said 45% impact. Yeah, 45% impact. And then he's like, that is my full power. So I'm guessing it means that currently he can use 45% of one for all, like that's the maximum that he can use. And he destroyed Muscular, I knew it was going to be easy this time around, because the first time around he didn't really have, even though yes, he still doesn't have full control of one for all. It's way leagues better than how he used to be when he faced Muscular the first time around. So I knew this time around was going to be pretty easy for him to beat Muscular, And then the fact that Yo used Vibrate on him, it also affected Muscular prior to full cowling, So he was able to defeat him pretty easily. And then he took him to, is it Tartarus or another location where they are housing those villains that escaped and everything. So he brought Muscular to them using small screen again so that people don't notice who he is. And then he just left and joined All Might. And then they showed that All Might had ordered these support items for him to basically brace, keep his muscles and all of that from tearing. so that when he uses All for One and all of that. And then they showed the flashback scene of when he was in the hospital, and then he told the mom, All Might told the mom about everything, how he gave him his power. That's why Shigaraki and All for One are after him and all of that. And the mom obviously is worried about Deku. That's her son. She doesn't want to see anything bad happen to him, but Deku is determined. Okay, he's like, these people are after me. I cannot go back to school because Shigaraki has this quirk that can locate where he is, so he can't go back to school and put the others in danger. And he decided that he was going to leave the school. All Might decided to go with him. And you also had Hawks, Endeavor, and Best Chinnis also joining up with him. They were like, okay, they basically are going to be tailing Deku, right? His goal is to find Shigaraki and All for One before they're fully like ready to launch an attack and all of that. And the other heroes are just supposed to be sort of like trailing behind him, in case they find them, so they can launch a counterattack, I guess, something along those lines. And yeah, so was there anything else? Yeah, that's basically it. Deku is just using danger sense to sense if there are villains around, like maybe those that escaped, going after them, capture them, taking them to jail, getting rid of them one by one, and all that. So yeah, I really still wonder if that purple-haired person is gonna be on our side, or if she's like a villain. I don't know. We'll see. So thank you guys. Oh, what the heck? Thank you guys for watching, and if you like this reaction, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. And if you want to see my reaction to the next episode, you can do so by checking out my Patreon at patreon.com/feelme. And you can also see the full length for this reaction there as well. So thanks for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye. Les oiseaux les plus beaux ne sont pas les plus beaux. J'en ai vu de tout petits qui étaient si jolis. Dans ma main, je les ai pris et dans ma poche, je les ai mis. En sortant dans la rue, je les ai tous perdus.